everyone. Welcome to From the Logo, all you basketball nerds out there coming up with fantasy trades and wishing you were general managers like us. We just watched the Denver Nuggets win the NBA championship. We watched Joker celebrate his first championship very stoically in the most Serbian way possible. I go back to Serbia now. I
He
do
wants
not.
to go horse race.
Yeah, I go buy new horse. That was pretty fun to
Congratulations.
watch, though. Yeah, congratulations, Nuggets fans, your first NBA title. It definitely made me feel like, man, what would that feel like as a Blazers fan to watch that happen? That would be crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy series, and I know it was only 5 games. I I think that it really kind of was crazy to me that Hero didn't come back. I guess he just wasn't ready. I heard like a lot of the chatter going in was that he was going to come back in game 3. And I really think he would have made a massive difference in the series just because the Heat really played good defense. They hung in there most of the series. They just couldn't score, which I think the biggest X factor in the whole series, besides Hero being out, was Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon was really rugged, tough. He had a huge
Yo,
game 4, but he was also just the defensive menace, and the Nuggets or the Heat had no answer for Aaron Gordon. So that was a big deal.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. Like, it must be so frustrating to be a Miami Heat fan right now. I mean, it's exciting because they overperformed and all that. Like, not to downplay what they did, but it's got to be a little bit frustrating for fans and for Jimmy that they have one legitimate offensive option, especially in crunch time. And he's supposed to be a defense first guy. I mean, Jimmy's sort of reinvented himself. He is now often the primary scorer, but he's like hard-nosed defensive guy who learned how to shoot. He's not like a supernatural score three-way scorer or anything like that. So they could really use another offensive option. I can see why they want Dame, but good luck.
they were the number 8 seed for a reason. Let's just put it that way. They're supposed to have only one legitimate offensive option. Although Bam played really good in this series, I thought, and tonight he had like 20 first half points or something like that. Didn't really show up too well down the stretch, but he played. I remember early in the playoffs, I think Colton said that Bam really didn't look that good in the Milwaukee
Early he didn't.
series. Yeah, and but he has an interesting style of play where he just isn't very a traditional big man, but he's smart, high IQ, makes the right passes and stuff, and helps the team win, regardless of the individual play that he has, I guess.
Totally. Totally. He missed a lot of layups tonight. Bam did. He
Second
got
half
to
in
the
particular,
rim and
yeah.
he missed a lot of bunnies. And that really didn't help. Denver missed a lot of free throws, probably because they were nervous. But that's just how the cookie crumbles.
We're up to 323 subscribers on From the Logo now. Yay! And we posted a poll 7 days ago asking the question, if all were available at the number 3 pick, who should the Blazers choose? 33 people responded, 33 people voted, with 58% voting for Scooty Boy, Scoot Henderson, 30% going for Brandon Miller, 9% for Amon, the Thompson guy, Mr.
Amen.
Mr. Thompson. And then 3%, so I'm guessing maybe one vote is 3% of 33, one. I think that, I don't know, I'm not a math major, but that was the other category, so we don't know who they had scouted out. They must know something that everyone else doesn't. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting poll. Seems like Blazers fans are really excited about that number 3 pick. In particular, Henderson and Miller. Two guys that could potentially be franchise-changing players. So today we're going to talk a little bit about those two guys in particular, probably. Also, I think Colton wants to talk about Mr. Thompson a little bit as well. I don't think we're going to talk too much about the other category. I don't know. I know very little about those guys. If the Blazers end up drafting an other, then I think it's time for Cronenberg to get the boot. But yeah, what do you guys
Let
think?
us know in the comments who the other was, by the way,
Yeah,
whoever that was. I want to know. Who do you have
I bet
scouted
you
out?
maybe it was like a trade down.
Grady Dick. Maybe it was a Grady Dick
Brady.
fanboy out there.
Yeah. I think it was probably a trade down because I really think that those two, specifically Scoot and Brandon Miller, are locked in pretty close. I think Amen has like an upset Heat fantastical 8 seed run chance at getting picked at number 3. But I think it's mostly leaning towards Scoot or Brandon if the Blazers keep the pick. And because Scoot was the number 1 option for the voters, I think we should start there. So Scoot, as Blazer fans know, Blazers are a guard factory, right? They always have good guards. We need forwards, but Scoot kind of breaks the mold as far as guards go. He's not like a CJ type guard where he avoids contact or a Simons type guard. He's kind of a bulldog guard. He's got a 6'9" wingspan, right? So long arms for being a 6'2" point guard. Goes to the rim, pass first, got a great attitude. His 3-point shot's not great, but if you take into account his stats from his entire G League season and not just the actual regular season, but if you include the playoffs, he shot basically 33% from 3. So not great, but not broken like somebody like Amen Thompson's shot would be. So he's widely viewed as like a generational player, and he in most drafts would go number 1 overall. Most recent drafts, not all of them, if there wasn't like a once in a generation prospect sitting there. So a lot of people think he's the most talented guy after Wemby.
I just have to bring it up. It's not an elephant in the room. It's more like a vole in the room, maybe. The guy is 6'2". He's small.
Nice random animal to bring up, like a bull. If only he played at Tennessee.
Yeah. He's small. And he's extremely talented.
This is going off the rails.
Obviously extremely talented. The 6'9" wingman makes up for some of that lack of height, but man, there's just so much athleticism in the NBA. You've got guys jumping up like 3 feet above the rim, swatting shots like they're nothing. If he's able to play vertically enough.
He is too. He's athletic. I mean,
I was gonna say you're talking about athleticism. He might be the best athlete in the draft at 6'2". He's like got Ja Morant type bunnies. He's yeah, I saw his I know I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but his slam cover sold me. The dude has an 8-pack. He is jacked and
I think
extremely explosive athlete.
I think if you're going for X factor in terms of who has the dog in them, right? It's probably Scoot out of all the guys that are at the top of the draft. In his interviews, he seemed on top of it, and I think he's like that guy, right? But you're right, Riley. It's another 6'2" guard, and unless you're like top of the top 6'2" guard, it's hard to be a valuable pick that high. But Scoot has the potential to be that, and the fit is the issue, though. What do you guys think about the fit? Because something's going to have to happen with the guards.
Obviously, the Blazers have had a long run of being an undersized team, having 2 point guards basically in the starting lineup. But I'm not going to mince words here. If you have Damian Lillard, Scoot Henderson, and Shaedon Sharpe on your team, those 3 players need to start. No question about it. They're going to be small, but you can't bring one of them off the bench at this stage. I think if you do, someone's got to get the axe here. Coaching staff, GM, somebody's got to go. Those 3 guys are mandatory must-start players, and that leaves Simons out of the equation. I think that Simons probably is going to need to be traded, unless the only scenario that I see where we could keep him is if we trade Damian Lillard and draft Brandon Miller, and then you could start Simons, Sharp, and Miller in those three spots. Which it would be. It's not like a full rebuild, which kind of sucks. They'd probably be like an 8th seed or play-in team again next year, maybe not. But yeah, that's just. I think that if you bring Shaden off the bench, if you try to bring Scoot off the bench, don't do it. Don't do it, guys. You got to figure out a way to make those players work. They're going to be undersized, but like we mentioned, Scoot's athleticism and the 6'9" wingspan. Maybe him and Damian play different enough where Damian's the shooter, he's the attacker. Maybe you can play. You should be able to play good defense with that wingspan and that athleticism. Those three guys are must-start players in my book.
I think you can make that work potentially with the three of them starting, but there's a couple of things that have to happen. One is that Shaden needs to continue being a corner three guy in addition to his insane athleticism. Because if Dame's bringing the ball up the floor and Scoot's the attack guy, Shaden drive all the time it's not every play. It's not going to work. So he has to keep working on that on a shot, which has looked really good. So I'm not opposed to that, but we need to see more of it. And the second thing that needs to happen is they have to have two athletic bigs to back up those three guys, because they're going to get blown by on defense some. They're going to have issues that we've seen that small guys have, and we can't have a slow-footed 7'1", 300-pound guy sitting in the lane. So we have to have a lot of athleticism around him.
Just say his name.
He's not
going to.
So Joel Prisbilla.
Bring him back.
I just want to say
Joel.
I disagree with your comment, Kirby, that trading away Dame and having Simons and Sharp and Miller, that would be a full rebuild. Totally. I think that's your best player. That's the franchise. You have three young guys, and then you have the picks from Dame, and then you'd probably be trading away your other pieces too. But we can get more into that for the Miller side. I just want to say this. I don't think that works, what you guys are talking about. I think that what would have to happen if we kept the pick and if Scoot's the guy, because if Miller's gone and Scoot's there, I think you have to take Scoot. If there's no really good trade package, you cannot trade back, because he's like the presumptive number one pick in a lot of drafts. Don't trade that back for no reason. So Simons would have to be gone 1,000%. I think. What I'm saying. Well, okay, but I think Thibault would be playing up to the three more, and I think it would be a 3-guard lineup. And for this season only, you would have Dame and Sharp starting, and Scoot would be the guy that gets 30 minutes. Yeah, I think so. Here's the problem. Next season, that won't work. Scoot's going to have to start. So you're putting yourself on a clock of about one season with Dame if you draft Scoot, in my opinion, because Scoot needs to start. Dame needs to start, like what you said. But I think the first year you can have the tutelage Dame, and Scoot can still play about 30 minutes a game at either guard spot. So I don't think it's.
Point is, they're going to be playing together a lot. Like maybe they won't, by starting lineup, I mean the lineup that counts, the lineup that's going to be playing the minutes together. It's going to be, I guess, the closing lineup might be the better way to frame it. It's going to be all I'm saying is, if you have those three guys on your roster, they're going to be the ones playing. That's like your three most talented players on your team, probably.
Right. You're right. I'm just saying, for more size advantages and getting off the different kinds of starts, I think that would be like the starting lineup, so-called. But you're right. They would need to play the most minutes together. And you're right too, Riley, about the big lineup would not work. And I definitely think with Grant, it wouldn't even work, because Grant's not a great rebounder.
He's like a 3. He's really not positioned to be a 4, his skill set, and really his body type too. He's long and athletic, but he doesn't have the ass to be able to bang down in the post. And so, yeah, he's a 3 in his optimal place, I think.
Yeah. Fun fact, Grant has had 10 rebounds or more in his career 17 times. Total in his career.
That's not
has
very
had
many
10
for a
or more
6'9"
rebounds.
guy.
17 times. That's not very
He's
much.
athletic.
So
He's
he's
tall and
athletic.
athletic.
He's quick. He's played the 3 in the past. So the people that are saying he's only a 4, I disagree. I think he needs to be a 3 if he wants to be his most effective. But we're getting off topic. Long story short, Scoot is an exciting player, but would create a lot of questions about the Blazers. I don't think they can pass on him because he's that talented. But it would be interesting to see. I don't think Dame would just sit there and go, "Oh, nice, a backup guard at pick 3." He'd probably be like, "Get me out of
Yeah,
here."
it's interesting though the conversations that they had, last week when Scoot was at the doing the workouts. Dame kind of seemed somewhat excited. They talked about how they had, well, at least Scoot had talked about how, he'd been in contact with Dame. They texted before, and so I don't know. There might be something there. I got to imagine Dame is getting, his patience is gonna run thin at some point. And that's why I kind of think that's why I do think that Scoot's going to have to start with him. I don't think he wants a backup point guard with the number 3 pick. He wants a starter who's going to help him win now. And that, the dude he's got that upside. Like we said, he's 19 years old, but he could help the Blazers win now potentially. You got to pair them together and see if it works. If Dame wants to stay on the team and we end up with Scoot, it's kind of a series of what ifs. But if you have those 2 guys and Shaden, they're gonna have to figure out a way to make it work, or you got to trade Dame.
Before we move to Miller or whatever Riley was going to say, sorry to interrupt. If you do trade Dame and you get these picks and whatever player you get with the Dame trade, a Scoot and Sharp backcourt is like the most explosive, exciting backcourt in the league. So that wouldn't be a bad place to restart. Sharp might be one of the top players in his draft class, and Scoot is looking like he would be too. You pair those guys together, they're both so explosive. That would be exciting.
Trade Simons, trade Grant, trade Nurk, trade Lillard, all just whatever you can get for that list of guys with young players and picks. Maybe you can score on some second-round Serbian guy or something that can't jump, but turns out to be the best player in the world. You never know. Here's the hoping.
I know Riley hates to hear that message, but if it has to happen,
blow it up.
There's a lot worse place to start. That'd be like 2 franchise cornerstones, and a lot of teams struggle to find one. So,
yeah, the thing is, and all I was gonna say is that last week I talked a little bit about how I thought maybe Dame was feeling more patient than he was at the beginning of the offseason, and that script has definitely flipped. It seems like we're quickly run out of time. And so, yeah, I mean, if you get Scoot, I kind of think like Kirby's plan. I mean, why not try playing the 3 of them together? See if they can win now, because if they can't, we're gonna lose Dame. And if we don't get a player like that and go all in to try to win a championship now, we lose Dame. So, like, what's the downside really of at least trying to play the 3 of them together? Why do a tutelage year if we're just going to lose Dame at the end of it anyway? And then just end up with that Scoot Sharp backcourt, which would be exciting. But if we can at least try the 3 of them, see if Scoot's a win now guy, because maybe we hit the lottery. It's possible. We can do it.
well,
if we make a deep playoff run in Scoot's first year, I think we
crazy.
I think we keep Dame then.
He's just Magic Johnson. He's getting triple doubles playing center in the finals. But I think, the player that fits a lot better, in the traditional, view, alongside Dame, alongside Shaden, would be Brandon Miller. He's 6'9", is that right? 6'8", 6'9".
That's right, 6'9".
Small forward, has handle, can shoot the ball. So he kind of fits that slot better. Honestly, I'm probably more excited about Scoot than Brandon Miller, but size is never a bad thing in basketball, or is very rarely a bad thing in basketball. He's got that, And so, he's another very fine option at that third pick. It's nice that the Blazers will get one of those two almost guaranteed. And, he's nothing to scoff at. I'd be very happy to have him on the team too. I think that Damian, maybe it'd be more likely there'd be less questions to be answered if Miller ends up in that spot. It's kind of just fills in nicely at that small forward position. Again, Simons is the odd man out, in my opinion. If you have Miller, if you have Sharp, if you have Dame, you got to start all three of them. You can't be fucking around bringing Shaden off the bench or anything. So Simons has to go. You can hopefully get maybe a center upgrade or another, a power forward or some bench depth, maybe a shooter here or there to come off the bench. What do you guys think?
Well, really quick, Riley, before you dive in, I just want to lay down his stats. And I want to say something that's pretty impressive to me. So in college, okay, I'm not saying he's going to be at this level, but just let me explain. Brandon Miller, on a volume of about 9 3-point attempts per game, shot 38.5% from three. And a lot of those are NBA range if you look at his.
But the college line is closer, Golden.
No.
What are you talking about? It's not going to translate.
So Stephen Curry in college on 10 attempts per game, so one more attempt, hit about 38.5% from three. He's not going to be Stephen Curry.
So you're saying he's Stephen Curry?
Okay, he's not going to be Stephen Curry. I'm saying he's 6'9", and the volume of threes is there. He's not shooting 2 a game and hitting 38%. He's shooting 9 a game and hitting 38.5%. He can shoot it off the dribble. He can do this. He's a great rebounder. What do the Blazers need if Grant can't rebound? A great rebounder, right? He's got the handles. He doesn't have explosive athleticism, but you don't need your whole lineup to be sharp level athletes. Like, people coming in were saying similar things about players like Paulo last year. He's not an explosive athlete. Look at him now. People were saying the same thing about Tatum. I'm not saying he's going to be the level of these guys, but he's got a lot of things that advanced stats are looking good. The accounting stats look pretty good. The couple of the drawbacks are his athleticism, finishing at the rim, which if he gets a little stronger, he's just kind of skinny right now, but give him some strength and development and he can finish at the rim at his height. And then his NCAA tournament was bad, right? But he had a groin injury in the NCAA tournament. I mean, he couldn't practice apparently, but he tried to play. So I'm not going to hold that fully against him. And then the final thing is the off the court stuff. And let me just say, if the off the court stuff doesn't check out, stay away, obviously. But if the off the court stuff checks out, which apparently it is already, like from everything we know, he's not even going to be connected or charged with anything that's going on with his situation. I think he's a great player and he's getting really underrated here because a lot of the stuff looks good.
Thank God Riley got him off with that.
Yeah, the lawyer.
Tighten up that tie. Is that your lawyer getting people off look?
It's the business card or the billboard.
Oh. Let Riley fight for you.
Exactly. Yeah, it does. As far as the legal stuff off the court, as the resident legal scholar, it does seem like it's not a Ja Morant 2.0 yet. It's not that level. It seems like one indiscretion that he may or may not have even really been involved in, and it does seem like it's probably going to go away. So, obviously, especially these days, the way that they do the interviews and everything, it's basically like a full psych profile that they're doing on these guys. So in some ways, it's actually kind of nice that they know that he has had this issue, and so they can kind of look into that to see if it's something that's likely to repeat. When they don't do anything wrong until they become a professional athlete and then start to go nuts, that's kind of harder to predict. But, this isn't necessarily an indicator of term, I don't think. And yeah, it seems like he might be a great fit.
Ray Lewis killed somebody and then had a Hall of Fame career afterwards. Am I right? So give the guy a chance. Give him a second chance. I think he deserves it.
The Ray Lewis defense. Wow.
According to all the information that we have, he's not being charged at all with anything. You know, he didn't know the circumstances. So, it sounds like, very questionable, definitely. And it sounds like also wrong spot, wrong time. But if everything that he says checks out, and if they do the evaluation, like what you were saying, he ticks a lot of the boxes for the Blazers. Like, he comes in day one and he's starting over Cam Reddish. Are you serious? What a massive upgrade that would be. And I think he would come in day one and make a huge difference. Look at this. The Sacramento Kings last year, they added Keegan Murray and he started for them. They were the 3 seed this year. I'm not saying it was just because of Keegan Murray, but Brandon Miller projects to be better, a lot better and more like upside than Keegan Murray does. Keegan Murray started on a playoff team. Why can't Brandon Miller? So I think if Brandon Miller's there and, if Scoot's gone, it kind of sucks as far as like trade value, because the trade value of the pick would definitely drop if that happened. So at that point, I think the Blazers should just draft him and slot him in and say, Dame, this guy might be the wing you've been looking for. Just give him a chance.
Murder charges or no, gun charges or no. Take the best available talent at the spot. That's my recommendation.
He doesn't have murder charges.
I know. Another poll we posted 5 days ago, when all of that, Damian Lillard talking about how he wanted to go to the Heat or the Nets if he did get traded. He's starting to drop more hints. We posted a poll: if Dame gives an ultimatum, should the Blazers trade him or the number 3 pick? And boy, was the fan base split on this one. 23 people voted. 48% said trade the 3rd pick. 52% said trade Dame. I think that's a 1 vote difference. Made that a 4% spread. So fans very split on whether we want, to go through the rebuild or whether or not keep Dame and just keep suffering through until something miraculous happens. But definitely plays into a lot of these conversations. I think, the draft and who we get, who they pick, and whether or not the pick gets traded or Dame gets traded, it's all very much, the same sort of conversation to be had. I think a lot of questions will probably be answered. What is it, next Thursday? Is next Thursday the draft?
Next Thursday, the 22nd.
Are we doing that? Are we going live for that one, boys?
Oh, we got to go live for that one.
You're coming down. We're getting on set for that?
Going on set for that. I'm already getting off work early. I told him I'm probably going to be sick that day. Just so
you're going to be good for that, Riley?
I think so. I'll check my sedge, but yeah,
you
I
better
should be able
call
to
in sick.
No court dates during that, hopefully.
He's got to help Brandon Miller out.
He's gonna be representing him at the draft. He's gonna be standing next to him. But yeah, I think a lot of questions will be answered. That should be very exciting.
The Blazers have 5 minutes. Once the Hornets choose either Brandon or Scoot or do whatever, 5 minutes to decide the fate of the franchise.
Yeah, that's when
franchise.
That's when the offseason starts. That's when shit gets really real for the Blazers. I can already imagine the scene. We're gonna be sitting there, elevated heart rates, sweat dripping off our brows, looking at the future and the fate of the Trailblazers.
Yeah, and before we dive any deeper into that, because I do think we should touch on that if we have time, I do want to briefly touch on Amen Thompson.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing.
I forgot about him. What was the percentage? 9% of our voting fans said to go with him. So that's not that's nothing to scoff at. That's at least a couple people think that he's the way to go.
Here's the thing.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, anybody?
I think, yeah. Well, so I don't even know how to compare him, because I was going to say Ben Simmons. So here's the thing. The guy is a crazy athlete.
Checks out of the chat.
I know. That's what I'm gonna say. The guy's a crazy athlete. He's by far the craziest athlete, even more so than Scoot athletically. The league he's playing in, doesn't have a lot of competition. Let's just throw that out there. It's kind of like a run-up league where you just kind of,
Is it the same league that Scoot's in or no?
No, it's Overtime Elite, which is kind of like a run up and down type league. I mean, not fully. It's a real league, but it's not like the G League or it's not like anything like that. And Amen, he's a lead ball handler, super explosive, amazing finisher, all this stuff. The shot is broken, needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. So he shoots like 55% from the free throw line. He shoots like 20 something percent from three. All this stuff. So while we needed to touch on him, and here's the thing, Mike Schmitz, the Blazers scouting guru,
Schmitty
has been high on them for a couple of years, leading up, and he's been the draft expert for a long time. So I think there's a slim shot that he goes Amen Thompson if he sees that, or maybe trades back with the Rockets and we pick up some extra assets, and then we take Amen at 4. If he's really, let's say Brandon Miller has really bad answers in his interview or something legally is a red flag, we might try and trade back with the Rockets or something and pick up Amen just because his profile is so crazy. But you're just relying on that shot to be even passable, and it's not right now.
Looking at mock drafts, it's interesting. There's definitely some variability between the different websites. Tankathon has Miller 2, Scoot 3, Amen 4. I think that's kind of what we're going off of. But some of the other websites have, what did I see? They had Scoot number 2 and Amen, sorry, like number 6, I think, with Cam Whitmore and Jarris Walker above him. So there's definitely some variability in there. I mean, there always is. I guess it's nothing shocking or nothing new. But yeah, I guess that's that other category coming into play. One of those guys. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about Thompson. I think that he probably won't be a Blazer next year. I think there's a pretty high probability that Scoot or Brandon Miller will be. I don't really see anybody else, slipping into that spot. I kind of hope not. If they don't go with one of those guys, I'll be a little bit disappointed, especially if Scoot's on the board. Really, if either one of them is, though, I think you got to go with one of those two. Unless there's a trade of some kind, unless they trade down or do something funky. But even if they do that, I don't like that move either. I want to, I think you go with one of those two guys that, like we said earlier, they have a chance to be a franchise-changing player pretty easily. It's not really that big of a stretch of the imagination to say that they could change the franchise.
Yeah, I don't need to watch. I don't need to watch another guy try to retrain his shot. That's not where we are as a franchise. I mean, maybe if we were completely rebuilding around Shaden, but that's more Scoot move, honestly. Like if we could get Scoot and Shaden, maybe, but if we're drafting more of a forward, then that we can definitely pair that with Dame and Shaden. And I don't want to watch a guy shoot 50% from the free throw line. Worse when he starts getting stressed out about the fans and stuff. Nah.
Ben Simmons 2.0. Wait a minute. We could trade for Ben Simmons and draft him. Then we have two Ben Simmonses on the same team.
That's fair.
Imagine how crazy that we could have Ben Simmons train Ben Simmons 2.0, how to be more like Ben Simmons, how to be
Ben Simmons at home.
More emotionally insecure, more back injuries, all the things you want from a Ben Simmons, all the things that make Ben Simmons Ben Simmons.
If you love that, you should see between the two Dame locations that he gave to Chris Haynes. You should see the Dame trades that we'd have to be stuck with that I had to come up with here.
Yeah, that was the last thing that I wanted to touch on. We've got just a few minutes left here, but I just wanted to touch on if we did trade Dame. We'll probably talk about this more in the future. But if the Blazers did trade Dame, the kind of return
between the Nets and the
like
Heat.
the Blazers fans expect versus what I think the rest of the league expects. Today on First Take, I watched about 30 seconds of a video before I closed out of it. It was the question posed to Stephen A. Smith was, who should the Miami Heat target in free agency? And he immediately said Damian Lillard, who is not a free agent. And who are the Heat gonna trade for Damian Lillard? Tyler Hero in a first? Like, what is the package that they could send to the Blazers
You
that would
know,
compensate for a talent like Damian Lillard? It's just I can't look up and down the roster. I can't imagine a trade that would work to help the Blazers rebuild, start the rebuild process, which is definitely what they're going to do. If they just get a bunch of these guys who are championship role players or at least finals role players, underdog type guys who are going to keep them, in that 500 zone, but no better, no worse. I just don't see a trade package there. The Nets, I guess there's maybe a little bit more wiggle room there. Maybe you could get a young big guy and some of those picks back, but I don't really like either one of those teams' trade packages for Dame. Like you were saying, the trades you have to go through are just head scratching. So I think a three-team deal. Maybe we could fleece Houston, some of their young big guys, and some of their picks, or Charlotte or some maybe OKC, some team like that could get involved and send all their good assets to the Blazers. But it's gonna be a rough road trying to trade Dame, trying to make that work and figure it out. It's not gonna be a smooth process, I don't think.
the fact that he said no to Boston really sucks for my fantasy Dame trade that I talked about with you guys earlier. That was a 3-teamer with Dame going to Boston and Houston getting Jaylen Brown.
He said no to Boston.
Chris Haynes said Dame said no to Boston, and whether that's because of racism or just because he doesn't like Marcus Smart or something, I don't know. But yeah, he said no to Boston specifically. And Chris Haynes said that, and Chris Haynes is Dame's mouthpiece. So
yeah, well, a lot of stuff is going to be figured out here in the next couple of weeks, I suppose. The Blazers, though, middle of the road, big offseason acquisition is going to be Caleb Martin. We're gonna draft freaking, I don't know, low risk, low reward player.
Grady Dick.
Keep Dame, keep Shaden, keep Nurkic, keep Simons, keep Grant, do the whole thing over again. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye.